Hello everyone. This is going to be one of the first times you're going to see me going out and using this medium to kind of show you through some software. And so you'll have a chance in class, those of you who are not software kind of philic, in other words you like software, you'll have a chance in class to do this, but there's many that, depending on age and experience, that are kind of used to clicking around. So I want to introduce you, now that you've found Google Earth or seen it, to really some of the more scientific map-based resources. You're already using things from the NGS, National Geodetic Survey, from the United States Geologic Service. So you'll start to learning all these acronyms, but one I want to introduce you now to is the NRCS, heretofore known as the Soil Conservation Service. And so as we're talking about soils, obviously you're going to be using resources that are soils specific, but more important, it's to kind of understand how much the NRCS does and how much they are involved in terms of preserving a natural and a national resource, and that is our ability to produce food, and it would turn out as well fuel from our landscape. And so the starting point on this, basically, if you're going to remember it, is the NRCS Web Soil Survey. So, but if you just went out to NRCS and said soil, right, you would probably see something like that. You would get there and get all kinds of different stuff. So it's the Web Soil Survey. So you're going to see there's a lot of different stuff out here, and the teaching resource is nothing short of incredible out here. Hay también en español. I don't know if it's in French, but keys to soil taxonomy, and so it really fills out your book rather nicely. Rationale for concepts the rationale for concepts. So they're going to justify, I'm clicking around here, they're going to justify here why they use these terms, and we'll see whether it keeps loading on mine or not. So remember, above all else, the NRCS, you'll see it also has to do with flows, etc. So you've got a lot of that. The guy Smith, he must be basically like the guy. So I'm going to push this out to the side here. And so you've got a lot of documentation on here. The amount of time and effort that have gone into the soil survey goes all the way back to the indigenous peoples and what they and how we identify soils, etc. So we're going to go back. We're going to close this out. My daughter yells at me. And so we're really going to remember Web Soil Survey. So we're going to go back, and as much as we can, soil survey. There's the Web Soil Survey. All right, so there's the Web Soil Survey. So that's the starting point, and you're going to see here, amongst many other things, there's all kinds of stuff to click around. So geochemistry, soil characterization, soil series, status maps in terms of how things are getting done. But the WSS has got that nice green button, and it brings you up to the same kind of, we're going to see this looks like it's an Esri based engine. Esri is the company that makes ArcInfo or ArcGIS. And so the idea, you'll be able to kind of zoom into things all kinds of different ways by latitude and longitude, which we should start to learn. I think of particular interest is those of you that are learning where the 45 line of latitude and 90-degree west of longitude is. Public land survey systems, area address is a very good one as well. And so we can actually search here if I know my address, but I'll try it. 2009 Wyatt, Stevens Point, Wisconsin, 54481. And that's going to zoom us down to a certain level within the map. The way this general service works is to zoom in on what's called an area of interest. It did an awfully good job on that address. Just so you know, I live right near a school and a church and belts and a railroad. And you even notice the different, you've got a relatively good set of aerial photography underneath there. And then once again, you can zoom in a little bit closer probably. You've got a scale. You've got to click to the White House. You've got all kinds of stuff. This is a government base, but the photography here is not as good as you'll see if you go out, for instance, to the City of Stevens Point website, which we'll do in a little bit. So once you do that, basically you can define all kinds of things here. One particular thing is an area of interest. So my area of interest might be we're going to redevelop this church and my block. So I can go ahead and define by rectangle a square, and it creates basically a spatial set of search engine. More or less it's going to winnow the amount of information this needs to search, and at that point you can, right, once you've gone to clear, you can clear your area of interest if you don't want it, and then you can look for the soils. So you can grab then the soils map. It's going to tell you that everything here is plainfield loam, and in this it's 6.7 acres. It's sand, it's loamy sand, very flat. But the kicker, what you really want to get used to is the two things. One is this kind of map symbol, which ties us in some information, and the ability you can now click down into that and get richer information. Now you'll see over time that there's going to be much more information that you're going to want to pull out of these things, some engineering data, but it kind of gives you a really great, I guess I would say, set of information here from the Web Soil Survey. So you can print things out, you can do all kinds of stuff, and you can click deeper and deeper to get the information. We'll look at, there's also printed maps for this, and we will be using those, especially with regards to not so much the location of the map or the location of the soils, but the printed maps are good for actually reading the textual information regarding what kind of soil is it, what is the soil grain distribution, what are its engineering properties, is it good for septic, is it good for roads, and so you get this general sense of being able to start to recognize that a lot of these engines are about the same. So, and you start to vary a little bit on scale and how things work out. You can go to the Data Explorer, and this is the place where it starts to show what's good for what. Let's see what it looks here in terms of military operations. All right, bivouac areas. So it kind of to show this incredible amount of information, very deep within here. I don't even begin to purport soil properties and qualities. Many of these things are going to be much better viewed in a book, and we've got a number of books around here. So I point that out, and then to finish out the rest of this, I want you all to realize that the amount of information that we have here on the web or available in the public trust for aerial photography, the NRCS, and the Department of Agriculture probably has the single best data set out there when it comes to aerial photography, orthophotography, and the like. And so as you go out to Google Earth or Bing, Virtual Earth, that's just the start of a data set. There are many more data sets. So I'm going to take you out right now to www.myhometownstevenspoint.com and show you and expect that you do the same, that you go out to look at what probably the clearest data out on the web is. We'll do the same thing here. Property details search 2009 Wyatt, and we'll see if we search whether it finds it. There's my lovely wife, Dr. Haynes, and it found the parcel, but that doesn't get me where I want to go. Instead of here, I click here to view the layers. I'm back to the same interface, and as you zoom in here, you can see different layers come on and off. This once again starts to look about the same, though in fact different browsers will treat it differently. So this, you need to know the best place to look for much of this information is indeed the local municipality. It is not Google Earth. That's a good place to go. It's not virtual Earth. That's a good place to go. Is you really, these are local issues for the most part, and so going out to local resources like your city or county. Wood County's got an incredibly good resource. Portage County has an incredibly good resource. Marathon County, Clark County, they've slowly filled in, and so if I kind of jump down here into my visual map here and eventually then turn on the ortho photography, I'll click that with that layer, hit a refresh on the map, you can start to see what in fact is the difference between looking for data sources and searching deeper than just what comes to you. So I'm going to zoom in to that same area if I can. There's division, so we've got a couple. I'm going to kind of do the zoom here if I can. There's Division Street. I'm going to click that out there, and I'm going to zoom in one more time within my 15 minutes of YouTube time and show you this is the city of Stevens Point. I will then point you out to the Portage County and the Wood County to look at their information and even the downloads that they have available. I will now zoom in from right there at the same place we were looking a second ago. This is 3-inch Ortho Rectified photography, and I hope you can, it just jumps out at you how specific and how incredibly clear, and I'm going to go just to my driveway entrance here, incredibly clear that 3-inch Ortho Rectified photography is. And so you can really start to see lines here as my driveway spreads out. You've got fence lines, you've got shadow lines and the like, but the fact is this photography is by far the best rectified photography, and it's something that I hope over the next 2 years you all get a chance to go out and prove to yourself just how exact it is. 3-inch Ortho Rectified photography, and in this I'm going to make sure that I repeat that word enough times. Orthorectified, 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 that you understand the difference between it and aerial photography and how they are used. So the difference between orthorectified photography and aerial photography is essentially that the orthorectified photography is corrected for variations in elevation and that would otherwise distort your information. To do it, you need to have a relatively good topographic model. So if I turn on the orthophotography and turn on the refresh map, I don't see them showing the topography. And as I click it on here and hit a refresh map, we'll see whether they do. But they then start to show some of those baselines that I'm going to go out, zoom out. Some of that information that I'm going to click that on and off a little bit, zooming out. Oh, that's not good. But they start to show what they did when they made that. So I'm going to zoom back in here, and it will show the information that they pulled in, the topographic information that they pulled in when they were doing the model to make the ortho rectified photography. So you cannot have generally good ortho photography unless you have a good topographic database on which to do your correction. So that didn't work. It was a nice idea. We'll try them in one more time. I'll zoom back into one particular area out here. I guess I'll go out here near Iverson Park. So just get out to that and you start to see it's showing all kinds of information as well as hopefully that what you've probably got some topographic lines here. So incredibly good data sets out there, and we're going to be using these data sets before you go out, realizing of course that these are still just generalizations and what you do out in the field. I'm going to click the ortho fine on it to finish out my 15 minutes, hit the refresh map. And so do try this. This is out at Stevens Point, www.stevenspoint.com, in the property data search. And you see it is maintained by a consultant. So you're not going to see photography, and actually you see some good topo lines here. You're not going to see photography like this to this degree out. I guess those weren't topo lines, out on the web too much. It's very dense, but it does feed, and you should learn how to grab it up and use it for something else. The final piece we typically do when we're looking is we look at a car. I'm running out. Hopefully it gets there, and there you go. When you see a car that looks like that, that's awfully good. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the trips to the field. Thanks.